Hey guys, it's Hyphe and welcome back to Hyphe World. I am super excited to dive into today's topic, and the broadcast of the day is about personal symbologies. So, what do we mean by personal symbologies? Well, symbology is a cultural phenomena that has been tied, with humans as they express different concepts, more or less without words. So, a lot of the times we see different symbols in the form of colors and shapes that end up representing something a lot deeper than it may meet the eye, because it's also always up to different interpretation of who that individual is and what the greater context is around it, that is attempting to be translated. So I really love the topic of symbology because it is another form of translation, um, and I find that symbols are almost like a way of time traveling. Like they can communicate something so far back into the past or communicate such a large experience in such a concise manner. And again, it is tricky because things are always up to interpretation, but I think that that's what makes it so special. I realized in preparation for this video that I've been drawn to symbols for a really long time, and I've always been really into math and science growing up. And one big thing about learning math and practicing math was that there's always symbols associated with it. You have the Greek alphabet and things like that when you're learning geometry. And you even have symbols like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And the thing that struck me about it is that these symbols are representative of a process. When you see that symbol, you know what to do. You know, okay, I'm going to divide this, I'm going to multiply this, I'm going to add. It's really relating to a process, and I find that so beautiful. And I think a lot of the personal symbology that I'm about to share is also related to a process. So I just really am having honor for that today. So, back in 2024, I received a tattoo on my back, and I actually already have a symbol tattooed on my back. It's going down the left side of my back, and it's actually a scythe, which people can associate with the Grim Reaper or Santa Muerte or even agriculture. And the scythe is a symbol that has many, many, many meanings, um, across different cultures. And the backstory behind that is maybe for another time, but that symbol and that tattoo ended up having, you know, a lot of energy. It brought a lot of energy into my life. And uh, I was looking at that point in my life to kind of balance out a lot of the energies in my life. Like I felt like a pendulum really during that time, and I was really wanting to ground back into center. So I ended up getting a tattoo from my friend Jade, who's based in Minneapolis and does offer tattoos. Shout out to Jade. And the tattoo that she ended up giving me was on either side of my back. I'll have it pop up here. And that is on either side of my spine. And I do find tattoos to be extremely powerful in what they do bring into our life if we're open to their meaning. And at that time, that symbol to me was intuited. Um, it's just I didn't think about it for a very long time, but in that moment and in that portal, if you will, I felt really drawn to wanting to have that on my body and to have that deep intention to bring balance into my life. I can say that it's been a process, but I have been able to find a balance that feels good for me at this time. So, after that, for the next, I would say like 8 months, I was going through the process of putting together my first music project called Hidden Terrain. And I was working in the studio after leaving a month long residency. I was working in the studio the winter of 2024 to 2025. And we eventually nearly finished the album by the spring of 2025. And something in me was like, I'm not quite ready to put this out, because I need to find out how exactly I want to communicate this work and what it means to me. So one day I was at home and kind of just, processing, and um, I ended up during that time, I was doing a lot of working with black paper and white ink. And that was really helping me to explore the depths of my subconscious even more, because it gave me this kind of contrast that was like, okay, I'm seeing these words, or I'm feeling these words in a whole new way in this form of external processing, because it's different from what I'm usually seeing, which more often than not was just a regular white piece of paper, right? So that was becoming really meaningful to me. And then in my process, I ended up starting to paint over those journal entries. So I have some of them here, and I want to share like what it looks like. So this is the symbol that is tattooed on my back, and here's an example of some of those journal entries with the paint on top of it. And this this is just another little drawing that I was doing, a little sketch that I was doing at the time. But this whole notebook here is really filled with a lot of those paintings. And in that day, I just kept painting the symbol over and over and over again. And it was really feeling like something, the lock and key that day, like something felt like it was falling into place. And that symbol, where I originally, had the intention of it being about balance, that symbol kind of found its way into a new meaning for me that was related to my music project. And as I reflected deeper on this symbol, I was working with it in completely different mediums. So I was actually my merch collection. I ended up incorporating it into my entire merch collection. I even do have, here's a vinyl of my project. I even have the symbol on the back of the vinyl. And throughout this time, this was probably, let's say, May, June, July, August. That was 4 months. I would say 4.5 to 5 months that I really sat with this symbol and reflected again and again, like based off of what was going on in my life. How is a symbol relating to me, and how is it representative of this process that I'm going through? Because now the symbol has been with me for over a year, and this time of my life was super transformative. So the way that I ended up finding meaning in it, which is still something that I resonate with now, is that this, and the project is called Hidden Terrain, so it relates. And we did we did decide the name of the project before I even associated the symbol with it. So the way that it ended up is that this symbol is synergistic with that name. Um, but it just all came together. So this inner circle is representative of the subconscious, and the outer circle to me is representative of the growth outside of the subconscious. And this circle beneath is the continuation, or the perspective that you gain as you grow from the subconscious awareness that you have. So that's what this symbol means to me. The symbol is related to hidden terrain for me. And I'm really big on, in my journey, like having companions. I think there's books that are companions that we can, have growth and find meaning with, as we go along in life in different stages. This symbol for me has been a real companion and something that I turn to for grounding, for a portal of reflection. And it's just been really special to me. So I wanted to speak on it. And at my release party, I had a release party in New York, uh, in Brooklyn, and somebody that I had never met before attended the release party. And there, I was explaining the personal symbology, and the hidden terrain symbology, and they came up to me after and they were like, "Oh, have you ever heard of Adinkra symbols?" And I'm like, "No, I'd love to hear more." He sent me this Adinkra symbol, and I love diving into the meaning of it, diving into the meaning of other Adinkra symbols. And it just really led me down a curious path of symbology and how different cultures have embraced the symbology. Even recently, I saw SZA wearing this dress where she really incorporated inspiration from Adinkra symbology, and I just found it so beautiful. There's an aspect of relationality to this. So when we find, these companion symbols, um, in my experience at least, there's been signs to continue relating back to the symbol. So I have seen the symbol come up in so many different ways, whether it's literally like on a speaker. Here's one, for example. You have a speaker and you have that upper and lower part that is like transmitting the sound. And okay, maybe it can be as simple as the fact of, oh, I have my first music project and subconsciously I'm transmitting this sound. So here's, what might have been subconsciously inspiring me around this time, because music is starting to become a much bigger part of my life. There's reflections like that. But I was starting to see it even when I would go to dance practice and I was practicing on a lira, and then I was stretching with a another circular wheel underneath it, and then I just look over, I see the lira and I see the wheel, and it's forming the same symbol. Um and I start to see, and think more deeply about, okay, corporations are using these symbologies too, and how might these be penetrating our subconscious, um, in different ways. So it reminds me of, I don't know if anyone has seen the anime Uzumaki. Uzumaki in Japanese means spiral, and is a Junji Ito manga, which is really cool. But also they did make it into a show, and you'll see in the animation that they just start seeing the spirals everywhere, like a spiral symbol. They start seeing a spiral everywhere, everywhere. And, spoiler alert in case anyone is going to watch it, but it just, what I'll say is that the spiral ends up having just a deeper and deeper meaning that reveals itself throughout the animation. So I absolutely love that. I actually ended up doing a Uzumaki costume for Halloween this year because it felt so related to my journey with the symbologies. But I have really been enjoying seeing the way that this personal symbol for me has continued to show up and just have reminders for me on my path of either how far that I've come, or a reminder to ground in the things that are deeply resonant with me. Um, yeah, and since releasing Hidden Terrain, I have been called to new symbols, to new uh, themes in my life, which actually, this is one of my art pieces. It's kind of like giving a soft nod to that, um, that I created around the time after my album release. And yeah, there will be more to come on that in the future as I'm working on my next project. But I just wanted to make this video to share a little bit about my experience, to draw people's attention to symbology, in the hopes that we can find the deeper meaning and the actual interpretations, perspectives, and subjectiveness of the symbols that are around us every day. Some resources that may be helpful on this journey are places like archive.org. Um, there are a few books that I will put snapshots up of here that I found to be really cool and have some really great historical information. Um, there's also a website that's called symbolicon.com that I had a fun time going through. Uh, and yeah, wherever you are on your journey, I encourage you to consider what symbol might be representative of this part of my life. I think that it can create a deep resonance for ourself and our awareness to externalize that sometimes. So, much love, many blessings. Talk soon. Peace.